Hey, everybody. Michael Sherlock here with Shock Your Potential. I was thinking about how funny it is that the first time I did this and did this live broadcast, I was really nervous. And I don't know why. I mean, I speak for a living, but there's just something a little daunting about just being me, the camera, and who knows who's even watching. But last week I talked, I think it was actually maybe even this Monday, I don't know, one of these days, I was talking about some strategies for, how do we manage this whole work from home, school from home thing, and just to actually be as transparent as possible. I no longer have school age kids at home. So you might think this is kind of crazy for me to talk about it, but I have been giving advice to several people who've been implementing it and they're saying that it's working. So therefore, I guess I have, like a data point of like 7 people. So I think that's something at least. But I think these are some strategies that will really help. As we move into the new school year, even schools where kids are actually physically going back to school, we know that there's the chance that they might come home. And if you know that they're staying home, you're probably dreading it even more than what you faced in the springtime because you know what awaits you. So I broke this down into like 6 what I think are pretty helpful hints. So here we go. Number 1 is you have to have routine. Now, this may sound very logical, like, Michael, we have a routine. They have to go to school between these hours and these hours, and I work between these hours and these hours. But what I mean is routine beyond the time. I mean routine where you are saying, okay, um, we know that we are going to have school between these times. We're going to have meal times at these times. I'm going to talk a little bit more about meal times and the importance of them too. We're going to have break time. We're going to have fun time. We're going to have science time. But really to think strategically about what routine your family needs to make school and work successful. And so that's going to take a lot of talking about it. The second component, and I'll talk a little bit more about routine in just a minute as well, but the second component is making sure that there is space for everybody to work and school that becomes those dedicated workspaces. Now, I think about my son and his girlfriend and their 2 kids, and they have a small apartment, 2-bedroom apartment. There's probably some chaos at times trying to have, really dedicated school spaces. But it's important that we have a place that we can look at, even if you have to box things up and put it out of the way later in the day, to say this spot during school time is school time and my office space is my office space. As we all challenge and go through these challenges of figuring out where do we make this work in our house, the part of the routine is having a place and a space that is dedicated for certain things. And then, like I said, if your space is too small, pack things up and bring them out the next day. But it's about getting ourselves into the routines that set our brains to motion, saying now it is work time and now it is school time, and not having all those things cross so many boundaries in the home. That's where I think we're all finding all these extra stressors in our lives, is what happens when everything happens within the 4 walls of our home. The third thing that I think that is really critical is to stop for a moment and realize that while you're working and schooling from home, there should still be opportunity throughout the day for family time. Think about this as the positive that we don't have during the normal work and school day, is that opportunity to stop and maybe have everyone have lunch together, to have that halfway point in your day to say, how's it going? What do you need? Is there anything special coming up this afternoon in your classes that you want to make sure I know about, or that you need to make sure you have extra bandwidth in our Wi-Fi for the day? And at the same point that, as a parent, you can say, now you guys, I'm glad we're having lunch. This is great. Just remember, between 2 and 3, I have a absolutely critical meeting and I cannot be disturbed during that point. So having some family time, maybe it's saying we're going to have lunch every day together and we're all going to go walk around the block once before we come back and we go in back into our respective schools and works. Uh, when we do those things and we make family time during the middle of the chaos, we reduce the chaos and we actually can connect better. So finding those connections is a great opportunity here that we never had before. So let me give you an example. Again, I know I told you I don't have little kids at home right now, but my husband and I have lunch every day together. And we never did that before. Now, not gonna lie, the first week that he was home in my space, I was losing my mind. Like, I've never had anybody in my space all day. But the fact that we go and have lunch every day together is something we could have never done before. This is an opportunity to really embrace it. So now, as I move to the fourth point, this is now about planning. And planning is means that now, whether your kids are little or they're high school age, that you can start to talk about how do we do this together. Guess what? It doesn't have to fall to the parents to be the only ones to figure out how to make this work. By engaging our kids in the process and saying, hey, there's a couple things. There's times during my day at work that I need to know that is sacred just for work. So let's talk about what you need. Let's talk about what I need, and let's come up with strategies together. So if you think about a 3-meal process here, that every night at dinner, that your family can debrief and say, what worked well today? What didn't work well? What can we improve on for tomorrow? You are now having strategy sessions as a family. And it's not just you as a parent trying to get, well, how was your day at school today? And having your child say, fine. Now it's, hey, what worked well today? What was the greatest thing at school? But what really worked well about your day? What didn't go well? How do we help it as a family? Then you're strategizing. Now think about this. Then in the morning when you're having breakfast, you're rehashing and you're recommitting to the day. Okay, you guys, yesterday we had a pretty good day, but I know we had a little meltdown and we had maybe a little trouble following the boundaries in the afternoon. So how are we going to attack it today? We said we're going to make sure that everybody knows their times. Now you're a real team. And then when you come together for lunch, just enjoy those moments. Have that be sacred time, whether it's lunch or saying every day at 11 o'clock, we're going to take a walk around the block, or finding some activity that brings you together as a family that is sacred, that you block out on your calendar. So as the employee, you say this time is just absolutely not available to anybody else. Then you are making a new kind of balance. And so as your family commits, 3 times a day, you can be communicating and working together as one team. So that's great. Michael, that sounds wonderful and fabulous that now we're going to touch base at dinner and we're going to have, we're going to come together at breakfast. We're going to recap. We're going to recommit. It all sounds wonderful. It is never going to happen. Well, I had somebody say that to me and I asked, why wouldn't this happen? And her response was, look, I don't want anyone at my work to think that my being home with my kids is going to interfere with my work. And she was really concerned and she was really stressed out because she, in her company, they're having layoffs. I mean, they are downsizing, and she doesn't want to be that one that is, dealing with kids. She loves her kids. She knows that she's going to have the kids there. She's trying so hard to try and make pretend like it just doesn't exist, that she's actually making herself sick to the stomach. And so in that process, I said, okay, let's take a break. How about, number one, you talk to your boss and your colleagues and you're honest with them. And I don't mean you are like, hey, you got to know I got my kids at home. It's going to be real stressful. You say, hey, I just want to let you know, my kids are not going to be in traditional school this fall like many other people in the company. Now, this is the plan that my family has to manage this. This is our strategy. This is how we're going to handle it. But what I'd like to know from you, is it okay with you if I make sure to always block out my lunches. So number one, I can be with my kids. I can have that time. We'll have a little family time, but I'm going to block it out on my calendar so that there's no other meetings that have any chance of overrunning. And so, we talked through the way to say it to her boss. And when she came back, she was like, wow, that went much better than I thought. And I said, well, tell me more. Why was it better? And she said, well, frankly, because I actually went in with a plan. And she goes, I hadn't even started working the plan yet, but I thought, well, you never know. Maybe it's going to work. My boss said, how did you come up with that plan? I need to do something similar. And what she found through the dialogue is that, wow, not many people have a plan out there. And thanks, Motivation for You. I see you say planning is actually key. Absolutely. That plan is what gives you confidence. And the plan is what gives everybody something to strive for together, something to be in alignment for. And yes, there, Larna, engagement and involvement of our children and siblings makes them feel involved and appreciated. Absolutely. They want to be a part of the solution. They know it's stressful for them too. And think about the fact that kids may just run in on your meeting, but they don't really want to interrupt you. They don't know the boundaries, or they don't know that it's important, or they just need you. So making sure that we plan ahead to give them time to access you and say, hey, just so you know that every morning between 9 and 11, I'm usually answering emails, and sometimes I may be in a call. So listen by the door. And if you hear me talking to someone, that means wait. But if not, knock a couple times, come on in. But in the afternoons from 1 to 4, I am in meetings, I am working on projects, and those times I cannot be disturbed unless the house is actually literally burning down. And the more that they get engaged and understand the parameters, even young children who may need a little more reminding will then feel part of the solution. So I hope this helps. I know that, like I said, I have data point of 7 people that we've been working on this with that have said that it is now helping them. But what it's helping them do is have alignment as a family, and it's really reducing the stress of the adult. And ultimately, doesn't that make us all better workers, better employers, better employees, better parents? So on a funny note, I always say to my husband, I tell him when there's times I'm doing a live broadcast, please do not walk downstairs and please do not walk across the floor loudly. Because those are the times that I need you to stay in your little box. But I don't keep him in there all day. And then afterward, I let him know when I'm done. And that way we're both communicating. We have the same thing that goes back and forth. So I hope that is some sort of inspiration for everybody. Remember, send your comments, questions, things you want to throw at me to info@shockyourpotential.com. And just for everybody who wants to know, till midnight tonight, Friday, what is this, August 28th, both Kindle editions of my books are available for free until midnight. We have had I have never had so many books. I've never sold as many books as we've given away for free this week. It's amazing. So if you want to know, head to any of our social media channels and you'll find the exact links. But otherwise, go on Amazon and search, my books back there. Tell Me More, How to Ask the Right Questions and Get the Most Out of Your Employees, and Sales Mixology, Why the Most Potent Sales and Customer Experiences Follow a Recipe for Success. And remember, download our Shock Your Potential app. There's a ton of free content, but starting in September, we have some amazing programs that are for our executive membership. So for $6 a month, I mean, come on, it's pretty good stuff, if I do say so myself. All right, everybody, have a fabulous Friday, and I will see you all again next week.